Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. In the West, where democracy is king or emperor, I don't know exactly which one, we are taught that the will of the majority rules. That is, if the majority, in this case of the adults in a society, want something, that should be done based on the will of the majority, without infringing the personal rights and freedoms. Okay, so that means we can't just say, well, we want to take care of you, we're gonna, because we have a majority here. You have rights and all that, supposedly. You have rights. You have rights, but if you have rights, then how can they be taken away? So that means there are temporary privileges, probably, because if you can, your rights could be infringed, and this, depending on a situation, if you know what I mean. What kind of rights are those? Now, what happened here? We have a little problem. We have a democratic country, European country, which is Poland. And if you remember, and I'm pretty sure you remember, Poland is probably the most outspoken supporter of Ukraine's struggle against the evil Russians. Okay, did I say it right? Did I say it right, YouTube? Yes, okay. So therefore, you might think that the population really, because what the government does or should do is based on the will of the majority. Well, it seems like things change in Poland. There's no more support for the Ukraine as it used to be. Actually, it turned into being a minority. So now the authority, which is the elected officials, have no imperium. They don't have the authority, actually, to rule, since they are not supported by a majority. In a democratic system with good policies, that would create a problem. But here is not like that. Here is like this. You vote one time, and then I can do whatever I want for 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, depending on the term. I don't think that's right. I think that's dumb. But hey, that's how it is. So here you have a opinion poll, and this is provided by the Ukrainians, stating that Polish support the population. Poland, not the politicians. The politicians are not Poland. The Poland is formed out of its people, the population, the nation. Right? Not those. Those are supposed to represent what the population wants. Democracy, the will of the people, the majority. Correct, correct. So I'm going to show you some numbers here, provided by the Ukrainians, stating that the Poles are getting sick of helping their brothers Ukrainians. I told you about this beautiful brotherhood between the Poles and the Ukrainians as people. I know you don't like that. Some of you don't like that. But if you know a lot about these things, or not a lot, you don't have to know a lot. You just have to speak with Poles, Ukrainians, or Russians and see how much love is among this. But anyway, why? History. European Pravda. All right, here we have it from the 12th of June 2023. Willingness to assist, that means to help, to support refugees from Ukraine decreasing in Poland. Why do you think? It's because that really hurts their lives. And you're helping, but then that help becomes really hurtful to you. And they say, okay, that's it. That's how much I'm willing to help you. The problem is you have the guys in charge of you, which actually are your employees by the democratic standards, because you voted them in office. That means you hired them. They came to interview. They told you all kind of BS when they were running for office. You voted. They said, okay, I'm going to give you this job. That means you can fire them in 4 years. Until then, they can do whatever they want legally. And they don't do anything legally. Taking your money and taxes, giving to the neighbor's kids. Okay? So therefore, some people here in the United States of America are very upset with the Electoral College. But the Electoral College was formed as a buffer between the rabble, which is the people who vote, and the how should I put it, the positions of power. So even if the rabble, we, the electorate, vote in a certain way, technically, legally, those guys in the Electoral College, can do certain things. They're like a buffer. It's like, oh guys, you can't really do this. Do you think you can't really? I mean, the same here. the Polish population can be dissatisfied with and probably don't want to help Ukrainians anymore, you have those guys over there who are saying, well, work within the system. You gave us the job and we have a contract, and you can't break the contract legally. So let's keep going and give you the numbers on this thing. Support for aid to Ukrainians among Poles has significantly, that means a lot, decreased. More and more respondents indicate that the change in their attitude is related to the damaging position of refugees. Well, that, and not only, but who makes those decisions? That's one thing. And guess what Putin is betting on? He's betting on the Western countries, including the United States of America, really believing in the value of democracy, which is will have the population being fed up with this little scheme right here and vote people out of the office and end the war. Or the economic life in our countries should decrease so much that these guys are going to demand the government to bye-bye, and they will not do it, obviously. But they ask for the Serbs to get rid of their government, but these guys are never going to get rid. I don't know when it was the last time when you heard in USA, United States of America's history, when a government said, okay, we quit, like in Europe. In Europe happens many times. When a government said, okay, done, let's have early elections and all that. Or I quit. Tell me when that happened. Tell me of a president when he said, you know what, I'm not good enough, I'm leaving. I'm not talking about Nixon, all right, when he was almost grabbed by people that he didn't help in California. Check that out. And that's a relationship, but you have to go very, very far and come back. So no, you tell me when, and you don't tell me because we got all together, like these guys are not human or something. But in Europe, it happens many times. So my point is, Russia is betting on the population to vote these guys out or put pressure because of the economic life decreasing in their countries, and these weasels just changed their policy regarding to the main thing, I think, responsible to their decreasing value in their life. I'm talking economically. So let's see further. According to the latest research on public perception of Ukrainian refugees, they try to make it about Ukrainian refugees, but the refugees and not only, and migrants conducted by the research laboratory of the University of Warsaw. So that's not coming from Russia. And the Economic of Humanitarian Academy in Warsaw at the end of May and the beginning of June, support for assistance to Ukrainians among Poles has significantly decreased. More and more respondents indicated that a change in their attitude is related to the demanding position of refugees. Yes, like give me more money, give me more weapons. Sounds like Zelensky. But hey, there's something wrong here because they're talking about Ukrainians here. All right. The decrease in support applies to almost all forms of assistance to Ukrainians except for education. And I'm quoting, we still want to help. 85% of the respondents are convinced of this, but not as decisively and unconditionally as a year ago, or even in January of this year. So that's accelerated. That's an exponential decrease, explains Robert Stanziewski, the project leader. The group of those who believe that Poland should help Ukraine during the war has decreased from 62% to 42% minority within just 5 months. So if you add another, so that's what, 20%, another 5 months going to get to 22. Even fewer Poles, currently 35% minority, have a clearly positive attitude towards the assistance provided by Poland compared to 47 in January. All right, decreased 10% in 5 months. A quarter of Poles unequivocally say no to additional aid for Ukraine. So that means a quarter, so that's what? There you have it, 25% of the Poles say no clearly to additional aid. So no more aid. Moreover, the percentage of those strongly supporting assistance to refugees in Poland has fallen from 49 to 28, 20%. A growing group of people also want Ukrainians to return to their country after the war. I mean, that's only normal, with approximately 70% of the Poles expressing this opinion, compared to 53% in January, 20%. The assessment of the social assistance provided by Poland to Ukrainian refugees is clearly negative. 60% of respondents already reject equal access to benefits available to Poles, and over half are also against providing benefits, over half, compared to 37% a year ago, which was also high, and funding for the food and accommodations of Ukrainians, which was 20%. 39%, that's 40% of respondents stated that they have changed their attitude towards Ukrainians, often citing their demanding attitude. Respondents most often explain this with the phrase they expect everything to be free. Hey, sounds like United States, a certain group here thinks, education is free, yes. College is free, yes. Free. No, someone's paying, boys. Someone's paying. Always, because nobody produces anything for nothing, just like that. Someone gave something, time. So that's not for free. Someone lost something. Another 14.5% stated that Ukrainians have more rights than Poles. That's 15%, let's say. According to Miroslav Skurka, the president of the Association of Ukrainians in Poland, this is and I'm quoting, result of anti-Ukrainian sentiments spread on social media. No, look in history and you find this anti-sentiment not suppressed by anyone. Why suppressed? I think it was, you have freedom of expression. I think the Poles have the right to believe and to have what kind of negative or positive views on things. So if I say, okay, I don't like the grass, I should be allowed to write that I don't like grass. Or let's say I don't like Gigi, I should be allowed to say I don't like Gigi. And why? I don't know, and I'm going to put my reasons. Or maybe I don't, because let's say I'm an idiot. Right? But people, if you're not an idiot, will say, okay, Emil, you didn't state why don't you like Gigi? We've said because Gigi is entitled, has this entitlement attitude, has this, has that, is rude, is not clean, is all that. You can say, okay, let me check myself. Okay, Emil, maybe you don't have any authority to say that. It doesn't really matter. You have the freedom as a free person to express your likes or dislikes in a truthful manner or not. Now, if you cause damage, there are laws. Okay? Now, then you go and check with Gigi and pay attention and see, hey, is Gigi has this attitude of entitlement? No or yes? Is the Gigi dirty? Yes or no? And you do it yourself if you really want to find out the truth. And then you say, yes, Emil, it's true, I found out that Gigi is as you said. Or you say, Emil, that's a lie. My direct experience with Gigi was that. And then Emil can send back, well, my experience with Gigi was this. Now, is it possible that you have different experiences with the same person? It's possible, because sometimes you behave in a certain way with some people, in a different way with certain people. You don't behave with everybody the same way, as you don't behave to your children, the way you behave, let's say, with your enemy. Is that correct? That's correct. So then the enemy will have a certain attitude towards you, or someone who doesn't like you, or envies you, or something you're not friends of. You're going to help your children more than you're going to help a person that you never met before. Correct. So that would have an interpretation of you. The children will have a different one. Why? Because your behavior is different. So the same here. You go by the percentages and you go and see, hey, what's going on? The point is, that's been a decrease in the acceptance of Ukrainian refugees. And it's not because the Ukrainian refugees per se, because that has other consequences. They say because they're entitled and they receive more rights and more help. That means more resources from me, instead of coming to me and my family, goes to someone that I have nothing for. I'm good, the Pole thinks, the Polish people saying, I'm good, I will help you, but I have my limits. The problem is the government sets your limits, and you do what? Vote him out of office when? In 2 years? And in 2 years, these guys are going to do whatever they want with you. So if democracy was to be as they tell us, then they would change this based on the people's attitude. It hurts your people, your nation. And you're only allegiance is to your constitution and your people. That's it. You don't have no allegiance to the neighbor's kid or neighbor's wife or anything like that. Okay? Okay. Now, what the Russians are hoping for exactly this, and it's going to go worse and worse and worse. I guarantee you, and it's going to be exponential. It's not going to be in a linear equation here. Like, okay, it's going to go like that. No, it's going to go like that. It's going to be different. Why? Because you have here an accelerated pain, and they reached a limit. You'll see. It's not going to be another 20% in the next 5 months. It's going to be probably 30%. Not because the 20% was in past 5 months and say, okay, 20% in past 5 months, 20% maybe in the next, or maybe not 20, maybe 10. I doubt it, because when things go bad, they accelerate that way. I don't see anything going well. What? Not getting more refugees? Or the refugees are not going to be getting things? This thing will spread. And the guy at the end was upset because probably the social media was telling this kind of stories, and he was bad because it's allowed to point these things. Like here in America, we're all the same. I'm not the same as you are. You're not the same as my wife. So how? Oh, we have the same abilities. That's not true. Not true. You want to play, I don't know, soccer? You want to play football? You want to play basketball? No, if you're taller than me at basketball, most likely you will win. Okay, I can be very good and fast, but height plays a role, and many other things. Age plays a role. Exposure to certain things. Now you have the abilities. Abilities sometimes, right, are based, especially mental and physical abilities, are based on things that you already have. Height, brain, exposure, how much work you did to develop your brain and so on. I mean, the brain is over there, like a muscle. But if you don't train it, it's going to be over there. That's it. I didn't mean that. Anyway, thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.